and welcome to the world of NekoDecoPop. I'm Nat, and today we're going to be breaking down all of the anime that I watched during the winter 2025 anime season. For some ungodly reason, I decided to watch 20 shows, which is the most I've ever watched for a season, which means that this is going to be my longest seasonal anime review ever. This season had a ridiculous amount of anticipation going on as we introduced some new heavy hitters and welcome back some of the most hyped anime of 2024. There were anime I absolutely adored, anime I hated with a fiery passion, and some surprise hits that made me question my taste in anime as a whole. Gonna be structuring this review a little differently from last videos and splitting this into 4 sections. Anime continuing from the fall season, anime continuing into the spring season, sequels, and new anime. Make sure to stick around till the end for the annual NekoDecoPop Awards, where everyone's a winner, but the award might just not be. If you like seasonal anime reviews, anime rants, and just unhinged anime commentary, make sure to subscribe because this year is gonna get weird. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Our first category is all of the anime continuing from the fall season. There are certain anime classics that crash into the scene unbeknownst to everyone that take hold and never let go. Orb on the Movements of the Earth is one of those. Spanning decades, this epic follows a group of scholars during the 15th century who go up against the church in their search for the truth. During this era of history, the church ruled all, including and especially concerning scientific research and education. When it came to astronomy, the geocentric model was used, which states that the Earth is the center of the universe, and the planets and sun orbit around it. But during the 15th century, astronomers discovered the truth of the heliocentric model, which is the one we know today. Since the geocentric model was seemingly ordained by God, anything that went against it was seen as blasphemy against the church. Orb follows a number of different scholars throughout the years as they fight to reveal the scientific realities of how our universe is structured. Beyond the plot, pacing, and stunning animation, the performances stood out the most to me. My favorite voice actor, Kenjiro Suda, plays one of the main characters, and the depth he goes to bring this character to life is absolutely stunning. Orb on the Movements of the Earth is nothing less than a masterpiece, and it's gonna stay with me for a long time. I'm still trying to absorb everything it threw at me, and I'm honestly still a little shaky. So for now, we are going to give Orb on the Movements of the Earth a 9 out of 10, although it probably does deserve more. The concepts in Blue Box aren't revolutionary or new. It's a combination sports and romance anime about high school athletes falling for each other. However, one of the twists that I absolutely love is that our love-struck main character, who's got one of the most intense cases of shoujo brain rot I've ever seen, is a guy. All the tropes you would usually see for female shoujo protagonists are shoved into this lovable dum-dum as he clumsily chases after his crush who is way out of his league. He inadvertently ends up in a love triangle with one of his childhood best friends, and things get messy. You got miscommunications, obvious signal misses, drama, teenage angst, petty mind games, and yet all of these cliched shoujo tropes still feel engaging. I think if this was just a romance anime, it would be a lot harder to get through. But since it's also a sports anime, the two weave in and out of each other, and it kept me coming back for more. When it comes down to it, I did enjoy watching this anime. It was comforting and engaging, and I do love our messy, dumb protagonists. Now never make me watch another love triangle anime again. We're gonna give Blue Box a 7 out of 10. Our next category is all of the anime that is still ongoing and continuing to the spring season. She is back and better than ever. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 is off to a truly incredible start. This season had some pretty hardcore episodes, and one in particular which was so disturbing that I felt sick afterwards and conflicted beyond belief. This season really showcased the power disparity between men and women during this time period, and how women were forced to get really creative with their workarounds to be able to just function, get justice, and advocate for themselves. Mao Mao continues to be one of the best female anime protagonists ever written and steals every single scene that she is in. I know that they're slowly pushing her and Zenshuu together, which I do not approve of, because I think they should just be friends, and in my personal opinion, she gives off Big Arrow Ace vibes. If you haven't already gotten into the Apothecary Diaries, I'm gonna keep bugging you like I do whenever I see that one coworker who I'm constantly yelling, "Have you watched it yet?" And if you're watching, D'Angelo, have you watched it yet? Because I need someone to yell about it to work with. We are going to give the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 Part 1 a 9 out of 10. Our next category is anime sequels. Y'all already know I love me some Link Click, so I went into this puppy pumped and ready to roll, and I feel like it was almost there. The Bridon arc sets up a lot for Season 3, while also simultaneously acting as a prequel to Season 1. Since it's a prequel, we get to see our boys try out their powers for the first time, and the journey that sets it all into motion. There is a lot going on in this season, and I don't know, it just didn't really seem to pull off the landing. I honestly had trouble following certain pieces, especially the beginning and the end, with how quickly they were set up and resolved. I am taking all of that with a massive grain of salt, seeing as I was being body slammed by a cold at the time that I binged it. But I also know myself, and that even if my body was totally I can still follow stuff when it's done well. I think it all just comes down to me being ridiculously spoiled by just how good those first 2 seasons were. So even with this being one of the weakest ones, it's still one of the better time travel anime seasons out there. I'm gonna need all of y'all who watched it to let me know your thoughts on this one, cause I honestly can't tell how good this actually was, and that breaks my heart. Gonna give Link Click Bridon Arc a 7 out of 10. I was a massive fan of the first season of My Happy Marriage, and I was so excited for Season 2. And for the most part, it was good, but just like Link Click, there was something off. From the jagged pacing, to the lopsided character development, to the final conflict, which simultaneously felt like it was taking too long to develop, and also rushing to the finish line in an unsatisfying and chaotic way. In comparison, the first season just felt like a much more stable and polished product. I can recognize that a lot of these problems come with just having a much more complicated plot. The first season focused on Mio escaping her abusive home, finding love, and discovering her voice while also reclaiming her powers both figuratively and literally. The second season dealt with the following plot lines: Mio continuing to struggle to advocate for herself, Mio navigating the conflict between her fiance, and his mother. A massive conflict stemming from Mio's estranged relatives seeking control over the country, starting an evil coalition that manipulates and consumes its followers. And finally, Mio and Kyoka growing closer and exploring their physical relationship. And by physical relationship, I mean like holding hands. Due to production delays, the final episode has not been released as of this video coming out. So I'm gonna do a tentative rating, and I will pin a comment with my final rating. As of right now, we are going to give My Happy Marriage Season 2 a 7 out of 10. After watching After School Hanako-kun, the whole series kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, so I was a little hesitant going into the official second season. But Toilet Bound Hanako-kun has pulled me back in, and this was a pretty good season overall. The arcs all felt engaging, and other than some slight pacing issues here and there, I was pretty locked in this season. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun has always performed best when it allows itself to dive deep into the darker end of the the spectrum and just get weird with it. And this season introduced some pretty intense storylines, especially around our radish insecure main character. I also really appreciated the character development we got from Hanako and the extreme direction it went in by the end. Toilet-bound Hanako-kun also has one of my favorite animation styles, which captures kind of a bold version of something from Soul Eater, except with a lot more flair and heart. If you are a fan of Season 1, you are most likely going to have a lot of fun with this season. Overall, I enjoyed it, even if it wasn't the most concise at times, so we're gonna give Toilet-bound Hanako-kun Season 2 a 7.5 out of 10. So, I was already a massive fan of Castlevania Nocturne, but this second season, holy this shit was incredible. Easily one of the best seasons out of the entire Castlevania franchise and a perfect conclusion to this series. Taking off exactly where Season 1 ended, Season 2 very quickly reveals that everything is a massive shit show and everybody's The big baddie from the first season is now 20 times more powerful, the worst creatures you know are back, and now we're throwing the spirit world and the world of the gods into the mix. The whole season is a ticking time bomb and the tension is kept up so beautifully. I really loved how even with the breakneck pace it took, we still got quieter moments to pursue some of the deeper storylines, but that juxtaposition between the two never felt forced. I binged the entire thing in one sitting and I was so locked in that I had to force myself to pause so I could make dinner. I am also absolutely thrilled that they finally gave this season the budget that it deserves. And some of those fights, especially the final battle, were absolutely jaw-dropping. Overall, this was easily one of the best shows of the season, and I am more than happy to give Castlevania Nocturne a 9.5 out of 10. If you saw my review of Solo Leveling last year, you are probably very confused that I watched the second season, especially seeing how much I did not enjoy the first. And believe me, I am just as surprised. But I asked my community over on Threads and y'all said you wanted me to watch it, so here we are. And much to my disdain, I have to admit it. I like this season. Okay, y'all, it was good. Was it amazing? No, but it was a lot of fun and the animation absolutely slapped. I was super annoyed with Jinwoo turning into yet another overpowered emotionless baddie, so I really appreciated when he finally broke down on episode 9 and let his humanity show. Ironically, that was the worst rated Solo Leveling episode ever, just showing how fragile some of y'all's masculinity is. The major problem that this season ran into was in fact censorship. Solo Leveling went through a lot of changes to make it more marketable to Japanese audiences. There were even 2 entirely different versions released, one for the Japanese audience and one for the international. The Japanese one changed all of the Korean names to Japanese, placed the story in Tokyo instead of Seoul, and even changed the nationality of the aggressive Japanese hunters to hunters from a random fictional country. I won't go into the full breakdown here, but here's a wonderful article that explains everything that I will link in the description. Pretty much what happened was that they gutted the Japanese being the antagonist storylines, which is not only disrespectful to the original story, but also glosses over the contentious relationship between Japan and Korea after, the whole decades of brutal rule and colonization. Overall, this was a much improved season, and Solo Leveling has gone from a 5 out of 10 to a 8 out of 10. And our final category is new anime. Ever watch House and say to yourself, damn, I wish House was a sassy Japanese woman who always wore open-toed shoes in the hospital? Well, it's your lucky day, cause Ameku MD Dr. Detective is literally House, but anime. Like, they even make a lupus joke in the first episode. Being a medical mystery show, this anime breaks down its cases in 2 to 3 episode arcs, which I really appreciated because it actually allowed the stories to be fleshed out and the conclusion performance felt so much more earned. I especially appreciated one of the longer arcs, which ended up diving into some pretty deep topics about toxic family dynamics, abuse, and the lengths that people will go when the legal system refuses to protect them. I will say that it was hard as an audience member to try to figure out the clues to piece together the truth, especially since I don't have a medical background. I'm not saying to dumb it down to the point of like Ron Kamonohashi, but at least give me something. But overall, it was still a really fun time. We're gonna give Ameku MD Dr. Detective a 7.5 out of 10. I am a sucker for shoujo anime about socially anxious girlies finding their voice and community. So when I started Honey Lemon Soda, I was so excited. The main character, Uka, is absolutely adorable, and watching her learn to stand up and start advocating for herself was beyond heartwarming. This even had an intro and outro by one of my favorite J-pop groups and team that I loved every time it played. But the good elements of the show kinda ended there. I can definitely see the vision that Honey Lemon Soda was going for, and it definitely had all the building blocks to make that happen, but the execution was kinda clunky and it just didn't hit as hard as it could've. The pacing was really weird and was either too slow or at an absolute breakneck speed. But I think one of my biggest issues with this series is the love interest Miura. He has got to be one of the blandest tsundere love interests I have ever seen. We learn literally nothing about him except for he is always annoyed, but he'll come to Uka's side and does care about her, but he's rarely ever going to verbalize that, but then also gets annoyed that she doesn't automatically knows that he likes her. So yeah, I went back and forth so many times with this one of like, oh my god, this is so good, and what the f*** are they doing? I really wanted to like this one, and I feel like with better pacing and development for Miura, we could have actually had something. But instead, we got this Diet Wish version of the show. So I'm gonna give Honey Lemon Soda a 6.5 out of 10. Other than the Apothecary Diaries, Sakamoto Days was my most anticipated anime of the season. So, did it live up to the hype? Kind of. Let's get the elephant out of the room. The animation was interesting. Was it bad? Not necessarily, but for a story that's easily a 9 out of 10, the animation that was given was like a 5 out of 10. It just didn't capture the epic gravity of its source material, and some of the character designs pulled me out of the stories every time and made me cringe. However, once I was able to move past that and get to the meat and potatoes of the show, I can confidently say that this was easily one of my favorite anime of the season. We follow Sakamoto, an ex-hitman who left the life to pursue being a husband and father. His old life catches back up to him, and he must now fight off hordes of assassins who are after him after a massive bounty was placed on his head. Being one of the best in the biz, defending himself wouldn't be a problem, except his wife has forbidden him from ever unaliving again, otherwise she will divorce him. So he has to get real creative on taking out and defeating these assassins. Praying to all of the anime gods to please give this puppy better animation for the second season, because it deserves it, and it would really elevate this truly wonderful series to the next level. We're gonna take a little bit off for the animation flaws, but with how great the story and characters are, Sakamoto Days still gets a 8.5 out of 10. When I saw that we were getting a new BL this season, I was pretty pumped. Then I heard that Banban Vampire was about a sassy vampire, and I was like, hell yes, I am sold. And then I watched the first episode, and I don't know whose crackpot idea it was to go with the storyline that they did, but I'm gonna demand that they have their hard drives checked. Our main character, Ranmaru, is a vampire who, after being on the brink of death, is saved by Rahito, a child who helps take him in, and his family help nurse him back to health. As repayment, Ranmaru decides to work at their bathhouse and watches over Rihito for the next 10 years. This alone would have been fine until you learn why Ranmaru is looking after Rihito. Is it to protect him from danger? No. It's because Rihito is going to be 18 years old in 3 years, and there is nothing that Ranmaru loves more than the blood of a 18-year-old virgin. So he's waiting for him to become legal so that he can consume him. And he'll do whatever he needs to protect Rihito's virginity and purity so he can have him to himself. The sheer levels of rage I felt when his motivations were revealed were unmatched. I hated every single episode with a fiery passion, and I hope y'all appreciate the sacrifices that I make for y'all in this channel, because what in the actual the entire running gag of Ranmaru getting an erection every time he thinks about how he's gonna consume Rihito was straight up nauseating. But not as much as the praise I saw some people giving this online, talking about, even though it's problematic, it's still funny. But then again, y'all put up with a lot of fucked up shit and excuse a lot of grooming, so why would I think you'd have a problem with this one too? So, long story short, I fucking hate this anime. Its only redeeming quality was that the pacing was solid. I am never rewatching this, and I suggest y'all don't either. We're giving this horrible anime with a fucking stupid ass name that I'm not gonna keep repeating a 3 out of 10. I did it! I watched a whole ass isekai for y'all, and it wasn't horrible. One of the most annoying things about isekai are the overpowered main characters, so it was really refreshing to see just some regular dude who got yeeted to another world. He does not have magical abilities or physical prowess, so instead, he has to use his tried and true superpower to overcome his adversaries. And what is this superpower? Corporate bureaucracy, of course. Yes, this is an isekai about a salaryman pulling regular corporate tactics to help his demon overlord boss achieve his dreams. After being overlooked, overworked, and abused in all of his workplaces, Uchimura suddenly has a caring boss who has faith in him. He's provided with great work benefits and finally has a supportive work environment. So, that's our base. Cool, I can f with that. So, what about the rest of this anime? It was decent to mid. We had your standard harem who somehow all fell head over heels with the main character. My favorite was this demon who was a total badass until she fell for Uchimura, then all of her personality, hopes, and dreams suddenly disappeared, and her only storyline was, oh my god, I'm so into him, is he into me too? Like, girl! This didn't reinvent the wheel by any means, but it was watchable, and I did chuckle at the main character pulling marketing and corporate espionage to take down his enemies. So, we're gonna give Headhunted to Another World a 5 out of 10. But if we want to talk about an isekai that actually did rewrite the wheel, we got Zenshuu. I went into it blind and super hyped that it was an anime about an anime director paving her way in the world. Like, yes, give me a slice of life that also hopefully sheds light to the horrific working conditions in the anime industry. And it's animated by MAPPA, so it possibly has some self-reflection on the documented atrocities that MAPPA has committed against its own workers. Oh look, it's real footage of the pace that MAPPA expects their animators to work in terrible conditions for low pay. And then halfway through the first episode, it happened. It turned into an isekai. When I say I took this badly, I mean it. The sheer audacity to take my amazing slice of life and turn it into a isekai. Since this is an isekai, our main character Natsuko has to have some overpowered abilities, but her ability only appears when the situation is dire, and her animation desk magically appears where she has to power through and draw something that then comes to life to defeat the big bad they're facing. Being the massive otaku that she is, she draws on her favorite favorites from growing up, which includes the robot from Castle in the Sky, a straight-up Macross missile, aka an Itanu Circus creation, literally animated by the legend Tomohiro Kawahara himself. Being transported to her favorite childhood anime, Natsuko knows this story back and forth, so she's able to help prevent countless tragedies. But her presence also means that the storyline completely changes, and she now has to grow to meet these new challenges. I can't believe I'm doing this, but Zenshuu is now officially the highest rated isekai I have ever seen. I despise this genre with a fiery passion, but this anime absolutely slaps, and I am more than happy to give Zenshuu a very well-deserved 9 out of 10. For some ungodly reason, I watched yet another isekai anime. I don't know what happened this season, y'all. I swear I only had one plan this season, but somehow ended up with this many. Thankfully, the Red Ranger Becomes an Adventure in Another World was also an isekai that had a unique concept that gave it an edge from your standard isekai. If you couldn't tell by the title alone, this is about the Red Ranger, you know, like Power Ranger, who gets yeeted to another world after defending his crew and sacrificing himself for the greater good. He ends up in this new world where he legitimately uses the power of friendship to defeat his enemies, powered by sound effects, his own theme song, stats, and of course explosions behind him whenever he transforms, much to the danger of everyone standing behind him. The sheer stupidity and ridiculousness of this absolutely clicked with me, and I cracked up every time that shit popped off, and the rest of the characters just look at each other in utter confusion and disgust as the Red Ranger commercial break backing track announces his movements and attacks. If you're a fan of Power Rangers or any similar franchise, and you like isekai, you are hardcore gonna fuck with this. That being said, it did still return to just being a basic isekai, but since it had that extra dumb spice, it gets an extra point for that. So we're gonna give The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventure in Another World a 6 out of 10. I Have a Crush at Work could have been big, like Wotakoi big. You have an adult relationship romance with spice that doesn't feel exploitative or gross, with a couple you're genuinely rooting for. This could have been huge, but I guess the big anime conglomerates didn't think so, and this did not get licensed in the West, which means that most of y'all probably haven't even heard about it. It is so rare to get an adult romance anime, let alone a romance anime where they start off together and you get to actually see them being a couple. Most romance anime make you wait a season for them to admit that they like each other, but I Have a Crush at Work has them banging on the first episode. Our couple in question are an office couple determined to keep their office relationship a secret, except they're really bad at it because they just go over the top tsundere when interacting, and it's really obvious. My biggest complaint was that it was too short. I'm really not sure if we're gonna get a second season, especially since the release and marketing of this was botched beyond belief by it not even getting properly licensed in the West. One of the upsides of that, though, is that without a license, you can easily find the whole season on YouTube, so there's at least that. Overall, I'm really bummed that this anime is over, and I'm sure this is gonna become one of my comfort shows that I return to again and again. I Have a Crush at Work gets a 8 out of 10. Medalist literally has all of the building blocks of anime that I love. It's got an underdog story about a girl who's way late to the party but persists to accomplish her goals. Our main character, Inori, is 10 but wants to start figure skating. However, if you know anything about this sport, you know that most start around 5 or 6, so her starting at 10 means that her professional aspirations are gonna be an uphill battle, and even then, her odds aren't looking good. She's taken on on by Coach Tsukasa, who also started late skating at 14. Except he didn't have the money to take the lessons to go full pro, so he just did ice dancing instead and watched his professional dreams fade into nothing. The two find healing in each other and help each other grow in exponential ways. Watching Inori's talent get nourished into making her into a formidable athlete is such a wonderful experience. Only problem was that this was licensed by Disney Plus and Hulu, who do not know how to market their anime for shit and have let some of the best anime of the last few years fall through the cracks. Please go watch Heavenly Delusion in Summertime Rendering now. But if that's the only problem, you know that this is a true gem. I am so happy that I watched this. It is a truly beautiful show. We're gonna give Medalist a 8.5 out of 10. It is a well-known fact that they will make an anime for every sport and every high school activity imaginable. So it was only a matter of time until they made one for poetry and spoken word. As the daughter of a renowned poet, I deeply appreciate watching an anime that truly captures the beauty and power that poetry and spoken word can deliver. We follow Hana, a first-year high schooler, as she is recruited into the broadcast club after her talent is scouted. Growing up, she was hit with a massive wave of inspiration after watching a spoken word performance on TV. Since then, she has spent years performing by herself, reading to children, and daydreaming. So the push to get her out in the open and in the competing limelight is a ridiculously challenging one. But through finding community and connecting even further to Mizuki, the girl who recruited her, she slowly finds her voice. By the time I finished this, I also realized that Flower and Asura is gay as hell. Is it subtle and not totally out in the open? Yes, but they literally say that they like each other and they're always blushing around each other, so I'm unofficially dubbing this as a GL. Overall, I did enjoy my time with Flower and Asura. I doubt that it's gonna have a second season because it was on High Dive and I've only seen like 2 people this whole season talk about it. But stranger things have happened. Here's hoping that we do, because they set up some really cool stuff and I would love to see that come to life. Flower and Asura gets a 7.5 out of 10. I decided this season to watch one isekai and one harem to help balance out the scales and also force myself out of my comfort zone. We've already seen the wide array of isekai I watched, so for harems I decided to go with Okitsura fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I knew what she's saying. If you don't know much about Japanese history, Okinawa used to be its own sovereign nation. It had its own language and culture completely separate from Japan. It lived this way for thousands of years before being colonized by Japan in 1879. In true Japanese fashion, just like with Hokkaido, Japan eradicated the local culture, forced brutal assimilation including making Japanese the official language and suppressing the Okinawan language Uchinaguchi, to the point that these days only older generations know the language. But putting aside the horrific atrocities committed by Japan towards the indigenous populations of Hokkaido and Okinawa, hey, look at this harem anime! This was pretty much just a tourism ad to prop up Okinawa and Okinawan culture, but you know what? I'm okay with that. Since our main character is a city boy from Tokyo, he's a whole fish out of water in Okinawa, and the girl he likes speaks heavily using Uchinaguchi, and he cannot understand her for shit. So he turns to her bestie who has a massive crush on him to help translate, so he can grow closer to his crush. Overall, this might not be for everyone, but as an anthropology nerd, I had so much fun learning about all of the aspects of Okinawan culture. Because of that, I'm gonna rate this a little higher and give Okitsura a 7 out of 10. Okay, I can explain. I know I said I was done with isekai, but there's actually one more. Let me just start by saying, I cannot believe that this happened to me. I hate isekai, so how the f fuck did I end up watching 4 isekai? 4! Our final selection is From Bureaucrat to Villainess, Dad's Been Reincarnated. I can't believe I'm saying this about an isekai, but I unironically love this anime. Now, I know I've been hating on isekai as long as this channel has been around, but this show is just so fucking good that I can't help myself. From the title's super subtle hints, this is about a 52-year-old bureaucrat who gets isekai'd. Except the world he gets isekai'd into is his daughter's otome game, and he's transformed from a middle-aged salaryman to a teenage villainess. One of the best reveals is that the dad is a massive otaku and has a massive wealth of knowledge at his disposal. Although he's not as well versed in dating sims, he still knows enough to be able to navigate this world. Turning into a villainess, he has to embrace the trope and attempt to be the arrogant antagonist to the main character. However, his attempts at being stern end up being more validating and motivating, as he can't help but slip into dad mode to want to help the main character succeed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but From Bureaucrat to Villainous, Dad's Been Reincarnated ended up being one of my favorite anime of the season. Yes, an isekai was one of my favorite anime of the season. What is life anymore? What are you doing to me, 2025? But anyway, we're gonna give her a 8 out of 10. Welcome to the official NekoDecoPop Awards, where everyone's a winner, but the awards might just not be. To kick off our ceremony, we have the award for Best Anime goes to Orb on the Movements of the Earth. The award for Worst Anime goes to Banban Vampire. The award for Best Anime Intro goes to The award for Best Anime Outro goes to The award for Best Character goes to Mao Mao from the Apothecary Diaries, cause duh. Any season that has the Apothecary Diaries, she's gonna be an automatic win. The award for Worst Character goes to Ranmaru from Banban Vampire. We don't even need to check his hard drive, just send him straight to jail. The award for Best Overall Style goes to Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. The award for Worst Tsundere goes to Miura from Honey Lemon Soda. We get it, you're a tough guy who doesn't show emotions and is mysterious. Now get over yourself and get a personality. The award for Best Hitman goes to Osaragi from Sakamoto Days. Like, have you seen her? Nuff said. The award for Worst Kept Secret goes to our couple in I Have a Crush at Work. Like, who do you think y'all are fooling? It is a miracle everyone at work hasn't caught on, cause y'all are messy as hell. The award for Best and Worst Love Triangle goes to These Dum-Dums from Blue Box. I hate love triangles with a fiery passion, but y'all are lovable, so you get a pass. Now figure your shit out. The award for Best Okinawa Tourism Ad goes to Okitsura. Fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I wish I knew what she's saying. The award for Best Power Ranger Toy Ad goes to The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. The award for Best Corporate Espionage goes to Uchimura from Headhunted to Another World. The award for Worst Mother-in-Law goes to This Bitch from My Happy Marriage. Like, they really just went with the most cartoonish nightmare mother-in-law for no reason. The award for Most Confusing In-Between Seasons Anime goes to Link click Bridon arc. I know I was on a lot of cold meds and very sick while watching, but what the fuck was happening? The award for Best I Can't Believe It's Not a Gay Anime goes to Flower and Asura. Like, come on, this shit's gay and you can't tell me otherwise. The award for Best Comeback of a Series I'd Given Up On goes to Solo Leveling. Okay, I get the hype. Now you super fans need to chill the fuck out like it's good, but stop treating it like it's the anime industry game changer that y'all are claiming. The award for Best Anime I Would Pay an Obscene Amount to See a Second Season of goes to Zenshuu. Y'all got me into an isekai of all things, and if you don't show me a second season after that cliffhanger, I'm a riot. And the award for Best House Cosplay goes to Dr. Takao Ameku from Ameku MD Dr. Detective. Cute lupus joke, now stop wearing open-toed shoes. Don't show your toes in general unless it's behind a paywall. Value yourself. Congratulations to all of our winners, and we'll see all of you at next season's awards. So to wrap things up, how did I feel about this season of anime? Overall, this is one of the stronger seasons of anime I've seen in a while. My favorite animes were Orb on the Movements of the Earth and Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. My least favorite was Banban Vampire. And the anime that surprised me the most were Zenshuu and From Bureaucrat to Villainess, Dad's Been Reincarnated. What were your favorite, least favorite, and surprise anime of the season? Let me know in the comments below. I also have a massive announcement. I have officially launched my Patreon, which you can find here, linked in the description and pinned in the comments. Since I watched 20 anime this season, I had to majorly cut down these reviews so that this video wasn't even longer than it already is. However, the full director's cut, which is almost an hour long, is now live on my Patreon. No matter what tier you join, you will have access to director's cuts, my official Discord, and polls to help me choose future video topics. There are, of course, other goodies in the higher tiers, but I wanted to make the bulk of the exclusive content available to all. I know that times are tough and life is stupidly expensive now more than ever, so I wanted to make my Patreon as accessible as possible. If you'd like to support me, my channel, and my journey to quitting my day job to do YouTube full-time, please consider joining my Patreon. No, seriously, please help me quit my day job because I'm tired of talking to people and masking so hard at work. I have also launched my second channel, NekoDecoChibi, which is a shorts dedicated channel with daily uploads as well as more exclusive content. Lastly, I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for helping me hit 3,000 subscribers. I am absolutely blown away by the beautiful community that we've cultivated here, and like every subpar SoundCloud rapper has ever said, I've got big things in the works for y'all. Thank y'all so much for sticking around, and I'll see all of y'all on the next one.